Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Govardhana Radhe. Jaya Krishna Balaram, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Jaya Giri Govardhan. Jaya Gauranita, Jaya Gauranita, Jaya Gauranita, Jaya Gauranita. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Nityalila Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Asashata Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Nityalila Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Asashata Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Foundacharya His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Chamakund Radhakund Giriraj Govardhana ki jai. Vrindavan Mathura Dhama ki jai. Mayapur Navadvip Dhama ki jai. Gangamayi ki jai. Yamunamayi ki jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Transcendental Book Distribution ki jai. Shri Harinama Sankirtana ki jai. Transcendental Prasadam Distribution ki jai. Cow Protection ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Jai. Reading from Shri Caitanya Caritamrita. Adya Lila, chapter 7, text 53. Ashime Vedana Kare Charana Dariya Ashime Vedana Kare Charane Dariya Eka Vastu Magondeha Prasanna Aiya Ashini Vedana Kare Charane Dariya Ashini Vedana Kare Charana Dariya Ekavastu magondeha prasannahaya. Ashine vedana kare charana dhariya. Ekavastu magondeha prasannahaya. Ashi, coming there. Nivedana, submissive statement. Submissive statement. Kare, made. Charane, unto the lotus feet. Dhariya, capturing. Eka, one. Vastu, thing. Magon, back from you. Deha, kindly give it to me. Prasanna, being pleased. Haya, becoming so. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The Brahmana immediately fell at the lotus feet of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu and requested him to accept his proposal in a joyful mood. Please repeat. The Brahmana immediately fell at the lotus feet of Caitanya Mahaprabhu and requested him to accept his proposal in a joyful mood. Purport. The Vedic injunctions state Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. One must approach a superior authority in humbleness. One cannot challenge a superior authority, but with great submission one can submit his proposal for acceptance by the spiritual master or spiritual authorities. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu is an ideal teacher by his personal behavior. And so also all his disciples. Thus this Brahmana, being purified in association with Caitanya Mahaprabhu, followed these principles in submitting his request to the higher authority. He fell down at the lotus feet of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, then spoke as follows. I read the verse again. The Brahmana immediately fell at the lotus feet of Caitanya Mahaprabhu and requested him to accept his proposal in a joyful mood. So this verse continuing the storyline of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu being criticized by the Mayavadi scholars, and his devotees were very upset. They were protecting the good name and reputation of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, who was known amongst most people as a Vaishnava saint. Not everyone could understand his being the golden avatar, the ultimate mercy incarnation of Lord Krishna himself. Nevertheless, his very close associates could recognize his transcendental position, transcendental superiority as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are many instances where great devotees like Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who was coming from a Brahmavadi impersonalist background, and he was testing Caitanya Mahaprabhu's integrity. There's many chapters in the Caitanya Caritamrita where the conversation between Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu takes place, and Caitanya Mahaprabhu patiently heard the description of Vedanta Sutra from Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu analyzed his description and defeated him lovingly. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he was not offensive. He was a Brahmavadi. He had a partial understanding of supreme transcendental reality. There are descriptions and differences between Brahmavadi and Mayavadi. And Mayavadis take it to another level, an offensive level. They consider everything a Maya. So, including the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is a direct offense to the personal aspect, Vigraha, form of the Lord. Therefore, the offense is very severe, which is one of the last snare of Maya. When one has the illusion, think that they can become one with the Supreme and equal. And but that's defeated by the Vaishnava Siddhanta. There are many instances, including the Srimad Bhagavatam, where Sanat Kumar, who were accepting the impersonal concept and theories, by the association of great devotees and Lord Narayan himself, they changed their viewpoint, their understanding that actually there's much more beyond the impersonal aspect of the Lord. So all the Shastras, including all the Puranas, especially the last 6 Puranas, which describes the mode of goodness, as we know, the 18 Puranas, they gradually systematically explain all the different gunas, Rajaguna, Tamaguna. Each has 6 Puranas. But even then, in the mode of goodness, one could not understand Krishna's position. Therefore, Narada Muni advised Vyasadeva, even chastised Vyasadeva, that you're not giving the ultimate conclusion, the actual Vedanta Sutra. Vedanta means the conclusion, the actual essence of all Vedic teachings. So Vyasadeva took it seriously. Of course, this is all arranged by the Lord. Vyasadeva himself is Krishna, literary incarnation of the Supreme. But he also demonstrated the acceptance of a higher authority who can see through these, who can see through the illusions of this material world. And Vyasadeva, naturally, he was prepared to satisfy the needs of different people, different sections of people in the different gunas. But even the last 6 Puranas, which describes Sattva Guna, Suddha, does not explain the higher Suddha Sattva, the pure goodness of Krishna's transcendental supremacy as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, he compiled the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Bhagavat Purana. The Srimad Bhagavatam is a very systematic and scientific understanding of Krishna's supreme position, and of course leads us into a higher realm of devotion service, which is clearly explained in the 10th canto, and Srila Prabhupada summarized it in the Krishna book. Krishna's exalted pastimes, divine pastimes. But it's a gradual process. Therefore, just like this verse explains that one should approach a higher authority in full submission, without any pretending, Accepting a spiritual master is not a fashion. One has to do it by the heart, simply. A simplicity has to be there, a purity, sincere intention, provided if he actually searching real knowledge, Divya Jnana. His Holiness Bhanu Swami Maharaj explained many aspects of the Srimad Bhagavatam very scientifically and systematically, and it was amazing. I was very inspired by his lectures and classes because he goes to the technical details of the Bhagavatam, and he comes to the right conclusions. He's giving us the conclusions very nicely, and I've realized that he's like our Shiksha Guru. Higher Vaishnavas are like our Shiksha Guru, natural Shiksha Gurus, because in a Varnashram system, the sannyas order is the spiritual master for all the Varnas and ashrams. So he's giving us very good understanding. I was very much appreciating, and Krishna is blessing us, Radha Govardhana, to have a sadhu, a holy person, who's got a very clear, thorough understanding of Srimad Bhagavatam. And the Srimad Bhagavatam leads us to the higher realms of devotion service. But to do that, we have to hear from the Vaishnavas, particularly from higher Vaishnavas, chiefly by the spiritual master. One may take Shiksha Gurus to understand different aspects of the Shastras, that's recommended, and one may have a very confidential Shiksha Guru who can take inspiration, a bit more guidance, like a life coach. He can help you step by step, gradually, and explains all the intricacies, clear doubts, and that way we can confidently proceed on the path of devotion. Devotion service is a real science, and we are here to learn the art of devotion, the art of bhakti. And Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu and his whole life is an example how to actually perform the most exemplary devotional service, the most pure, the most sincere and most dedicated service attitude. Of course, no one can imitate Caitanya Mahaprabhu, but we take inspiration by his examples. He shows us how to be an ideal sannyas, how to be an ideal preacher of Srimad Bhagavatam. And by the way, he actually came mainly to spread the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. He was a great preacher of Srimad Bhagavatam since childhood, since when he was called Nimai, and later on he was called Nimai Pandit. Pandit. He was learned in the Siddhantic conclusions of the Vedas. Therefore, all great Mayavadi scholars were disturbed, irritated by Nimai Pandit. Who is this young boy who is prepared to take up the challenge, who's able to debate with us? Who's that brave personality? We are the scholars, we are the Pandits, we are the learned scholars of Vedanta Sutra. But of course, Caitanya Mahaprabhu, no one can defeat Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Caitanya Mahaprabhu came here in this world for many reasons, of course. He has his various moods and rasas. He came here to impart Divya Jnana, Srimad Bhagavatam, of course. He came to experience that sweet rasa of being a devotee. And he also came to experience the mood of Srimati Radharani has for Krishna. So Caitanya Mahaprabhu is an incredible transcendental avatar. By the way, he's not an avatar, he's Krishna himself. Shri Krishna Caitanya Mahaprabhu. So we are extremely fortunate to have joined and had the opportunity to learn the message of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami explains, not just Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, but the many other great Vaishnavas in our line, Narottama Das Thakur, Lochan Das Thakur, Lokanath Swami, all great acharyas, Mahabhagavata acharyas, who actually, like Mahajanas in our recent history, they expertly explain the Vaishnava Siddhanta in the light of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, who is actually the most kind, the most magnanimous incarnation of Krishna. He comes here to distribute love of Krishna so freely, so kindly. As Maharaj explained yesterday about the potency of the holy name, that actually the holy name alone can deliver one, even if one has not taken initiation. The holy name is so powerful, but because we're not pure, therefore we have to take a submissive role. We have to take shelter of an expert devotee who can guide us. But the holy name alone can liberate everyone. But we have to know how to deal with the Lord Himself when we're chanting the holy names. So first of all, we have to avoid offenses. Because after all, Krishna comes to help us in many ways, in many forms and shapes. The Archa Vigraha, the forms of the Lord, the Shastras, the Vedic knowledge, Divya Jnana, and the Vaishnavas themselves also representing Krishna. Everything in our Krishna conscious society is meant to remind us of our relationship with Krishna. And then we can gradually progress to the higher realms of rasas, taste, and not to speak of remembering and coming to the position of realizing our Nitya Swarupa, which is our eternal relationship with the Lord, and which will be revealed either in this life, depends on our advancement, adhikari, or maybe in the future lives. We're waiting for that moment patiently, practice. Avoiding offenses consciously. Krishna is very kind and He's giving us chance on and on. So if we made a mistake, we have to know the process. If you commit an offense to Vaishnavas or the spiritual master, of course that's very serious offenses, but we have to be very careful. And in case there's an offense, we have to be humble enough to know how to ask for forgiveness. And the famous story in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Ambrish Maharaj and Durvasa Muni case. And Durvasa Muni was a very powerful mystic Brahmana, who had expectations from the kings and the householders. He was quite arrogant in his disposition. He was very exalted. So Ambrish Maharaj was fasting, Ekadasi, but Durvasa Muni became very offended when he broke his fast. So there was an offense. Durvasa Muni offended Ambrish Maharaj. He responded that you offended me, you're not serving me. So Ambrish Maharaj is a very humble Raja Rishi, very pure-hearted, exemplary Raja Rishi, just like Maharaj explained last 2 days about great leaders in Vedic times, Vedic era, Raja Rishis, great saintly personalities, great authorities, great representations of Vedic knowledge. They have the ability to lead and set example and they were powerful. They were conquering by their saintliness. And especially when adharma, some sinful activities taking place in the country, that was the first challenge they had to face. Just like Parikshit Maharaj had to respond for the personality of Kali, who just about to slaughter a cow. And it has many symbolic meanings, of course, because the four legs of the cow representing Dharma, Sanatan Dharma, truthfulness, mercy, cleanliness, all these important qualities that a human civilization should cultivate and should preserve. And there's a challenge, then the king, or Raja Rishi, responds. So Durvasa Muni offended Ambrish Maharaj harshly, being angry. He's a very, very flammable, very angry type of Muni, a great sage. That sometimes happens. That some are very, very powerful, and because of their power, they become a bit intoxicated with their powers. They become very proud of themselves, and not that they were meaning anything wrong, but sometimes they made an offense to a Vaishnava, a saintly Vaishnava. Ambrish Maharaj was such an exalted devotee, so Durvasa Muni offended him, and because of the offense, a Sudarshan Chakra appeared. So Lord Narayan himself reacted immediately to protect his pure devotee, such an exalted devotee. And from that on, Durvasa Muni was fleeing in the universe, Sudarshan just following him, just about to burn him, just a couple of inches away, chasing him to the demigods, to Devaloka, and Durvasa Muni could feel immediately, oh, I made an offense. I didn't mean, but because of my anger, I made an offense to Vaishnava, a great saintly king. And he approached Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva said, I can't help you. This is just beyond my powers. He went to Lord Brahma. I can't help you. He was trying to take shelter of everyone. Then he finally went to Vaikuntha. Lord Vishnu, Lord Narayan, please forgive me. Please forgive me from this offense. And Lord Narayan said, I can't help you. And then Durvasa said, how can I help you then? I mean, how can I get relief from the offense? And Lord Narayan responded, the only way to get relief from offense is to take the dust of my devotee and ask for forgiveness. Please forgive me. If they forgive you, I'll forgive you. And then of course Durvasa Muni humbly realized his offense, and he went back to Ambrish Maharaj and asked for pardon. Please forgive me. He had the humility. Of course he was an exalted Muni, but because of his nature very furious, his slightest, he had expectations. I'm a great Muni, and householders should serve me and please me. If they don't, I might curse them. But he made a mistake, because he happened to had an encounter with a great devotee. So nevertheless, he was forgiven. So this is a good example, a simple example, and Shastric example, that we have to be vigilant to avoid offenses. And we have to ask for forgiveness. If there's an offense, we make a conscious request, please forgive me. We're all human beings, and we have imperfect understanding of things, and often we make mistakes. Especially in this Kali Yuga, we're not very exalted, and we're just figuring things out, how to develop our devotion service. by hearing and chanting, we gradually come to the platform of Krishna consciousness and saintliness. So, but we also have to be intelligent. We have to know if there's a mistake, how to counteract it. And usually, if we are humble enough, Krishna will give us the intelligence. Okay, you made a mistake. Please go to my devotee, ask for forgiveness. So, this short purport continues the other verses, that this Brahmana who approached Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he came with full submission, full humility. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very much likes humility, the humbleness of a devotee. Trinadapi sunichena. He likes that pure, humble, submissive attitude, service attitude. And so, the spiritual master, there are good examples even in our ISKCON history. For example, Jayananda Prabhu. Jayananda was so humble and submissive, service attitude. He's such a simple, pure-hearted devotee. Everyone loved Jayananda Prabhu. And of course, Prabhupada knew who he was, a very exalted devotee, and he had started and introduced basically on the behalf of Srila Prabhupada the Rath Yatra in the Western world. Jayananda is a very glorious devotee. But a good example how to approach a spiritual master, putting aside our misconceptions and ahankara, false ego, and just hear submissively, just like this Brahmana, in a joyful mood, fell down at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu responded, because when we have a humble, respectful attitude towards the Vaishnavas and the spiritual master, we actually get divya jnana, transcendental knowledge, pure. Otherwise, we don't get it properly. And this is when Maya, subtle influences come in. At worst, we make offenses. And because of offenses, we can get sidetracked. And this is when Mayavada can destroy us. If we are not careful, Mayavada doctrines and subtle influences can divert our attention from Krishna, which is a very, very subtle thing. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada explains in the Chaitanya Caritamrita, in the purport, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu converts Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. There's a beautiful purport on the Brahmavadi and the Mayavadi, and the differences is that one should be very, very careful. By the way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that one should be very careful. One should avoid the association of Mayavada, impersonalists, unless one has the power and intellectual knowledge of the Vedic conclusions and the realizations. One should rather avoid the association of Mayavada, because they think they have the conclusion. It's so subtle. Unfortunately, you can see in the modern world, most educational systems, including universities, are very much influenced by the subtle impersonalist Mayavada doctrines. They may not even know where it comes from. There's an influence there, because they're not accepting a theistic, a God-conscious perspective. They rather go for the impersonal. Why? Because when there's an impersonal concept or Mayavada concept, there's no sense of responsibility. I'm not responsible for my actions. I'm here to exploit and enjoy. So the modern educational system trains people to be sense gratifiers and to be part of this society of sense gratifiers, individually and collectively. They do not realize the consequences are very severe. There's so much suffering going on. So this material world is full of suffering because of ignorance. And when one falls down to the Mayavadi understanding, that's almost like a helpless condition. Therefore Caitanya Mahaprabhu says one should never hear or read the teachings of Mayavadis, because even a very elevated Vaishnava can be confused and fall down. So we have to be very careful as devotees what we hear. We should hear from sincere devotees. Or devotees who actually are sincere to serve Krishna. They're not offensive. Every devotee has a sincere realization. And we're trying to get the essence of things, the very essence. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada used to quote this verse very often, and that one who has sincere, complete faith in the words of the spiritual master, in the Vedic teachings, Vedic scriptures, all the imports, all the essence of Vedic teachings, Vedic literatures are revealed. So we have to have that simple faith, just like this poor Brahmana who actually approached Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He had no illusions about it. He just simply gave his heart to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in a joyful mood. Just like when we meet our grandfather after a long time, or our father, we immediately feel joy. So meeting Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet and the Vaishnavas and his teachings and senior Vaishnavas, we should feel joyful. Here are these saintly personalities who can give us Divya Jnana. Let me serve them. Srila Prabhupada says in the morning walk conversation, when we see a higher Vaishnava, we should immediately ready to serve. Here is a Vaishnava, let me serve. Because when we serve the devotees, then we get the real knowledge, Vijnana. We hear about Krishna and the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and we understand the theory, and then we apply it. Let me do service. So it's not just about accumulating jnana, which can be misleading also. It's a subtle form. This is when the Mayavadis got carried away from the platform of jnana, because they thought they had enough knowledge, academic knowledge of Vedic literatures and their conclusions, but actually Maya, this is called Maya, tricks them, because they're not actually submissive to the authority. Often they deny their own gurus. The Mayavadis are notorious about that. They accept a guru, just like when Sankaracharya was preaching the Brahmavadi, impersonalist philosophy. Of course, he had a mission. He was a partial manifestation of Lord Shiva, and he had a mission here to divert people from Buddhist and atheistic perspective, bring them back to the Vedic culture somehow or other. So there was a system, there was a gradual reintroduction of the Vedic values and Vedic teachings. But of course, it was not complete. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came a few centuries later and actually gave us the real conclusions, Srimad Bhagavatam. So, but even then, some of his sannyas disciples of Sankaracharya gradually rejected him, because they became influenced by the Mayavada concept, which is a very, very deluding and offensive platform, because you directly deny the personality of Godhead, thinking that it's all Maya, even his personality and Vigraha. But actually it's refutable by many Shastric statements. Krishna is never a Maya. He's got a beautiful form, he's a transcendental personality, beyond our sense perception. He's a supreme reality. Ishvaraha Paramaha Krishnaha Sachidananda Vigraha Anadiravi Govinda Sarva Karana Karana. Vigraha. He's got a beautiful form, most pleasing to see. Krishna is real. Because we cannot visualize Krishna through our mundane sense perception, he kindly appears as Archa Vigraha in 3 dimensions. So we can actually see Krishna. Wow, Krishna actually is here. He's actually here. And it depends on our purity and devotion. He can reveal himself more to you, even to the point that he can talk to you. There's so many stories when the deities actually speak to his devotees. Of course, you have to be very pure. Then Krishna will actually reciprocate with you. Like Shakshi Gopal in Sri Caitanya Caritamrita. Shakshi Gopal, he actually walked up the altar, followed his great devotee, Madhavendra Puri. The beautiful stories, not just in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, but various Puranas, where Krishna himself, in his Archa Vigraha form, simply reveals himself to the devotee very closely, very confidentially. But for ordinary devotees, the Lord is kindly there and accepts some manual service with love and devotion, and he reciprocates accordingly. Krishna is right here. So the holy name is the chief manifestation, chief Yuga Dharma. So the holy name is the most merciful form of the Lord and the most powerful, especially for this particular day and age, Kali Yuga, which is really the age of quarrel and hypocrisy. This is a very, very maddened age. It's so many different illusions and misunderstanding. And unfortunately, modern universities don't give us the real clue, the real Siddhanta. They're misleading people rather towards Mayavada. And that's why very difficult to preach in colleges. There are some professors who are open-minded, but even then they have a more academic viewpoint of the Shastras or any of the Vedic literatures than a Vaishnava perspective. But of course, the power of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission and the holy name and Srila Prabhupada's books gradually breaks this illusion of modern academia. And they'll be more and more open to the actual Siddhanta, the actual conclusions as taught by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Srimad Bhagavatam. In the Bhagavad Gita, Tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. One must approach a superior authority in humbleness. We cannot learn anything with arrogance and false pride. We have to give up this illusion, thinking ourselves as more important, or I'm here to challenge my guru. No, we cannot understand. It requires humility. Just like Sanatana Goswami approached Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with a blade of grass in his mouth and a straw. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who am I? Humble questions. Who am I? Give me answers. And this is when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appreciated that Sanatana Goswami's humility, incredible humility. Not to speak of Raghunath Das Goswami, was exemplary in humility and renunciation. So all the Goswamis established the ideal mentality, the ideal attitude. No one can imitate these exalted devotees. They're close associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But we can take inspiration. So all these beautiful examples in the Shastras to give us inspiration. So we can also follow the examples in a humble state of mind, in their footprints. Okay, let me develop my devotional qualities, let me surrender to the devotees, at the same time understanding my own nature, take advice from the spiritual master, get more specific guidance, more customized guidance, because we are all individuals. We all have our psychophysiological makeup, tendencies, nature. Some things are very general application and some very specific. Just like Srila Prabhupada wrote many letters, about 6,000 letters, or maybe even more. And Srila Prabhupada responded to each devotee. He could sense, he could understand their nature and giving advice accordingly. Their conditioning and how to actually overcome their conditioning, and guiding them lovingly like a grandfather would towards real, pure, unalloyed devotion. And understand the importance and the being very fortunate to be a member of this exalted mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's just a question of time when we can realize how fortunate we are taking part in this transcendental mission, noble mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's an incredible good fortune. And here we are, we can humbly hear from the Vaishnavas. So let us keep this golden opportunity. We should not get influenced by Mayavada or impersonalist theories or any materialistic ideas. We should have a simple, pure faith in our Guru Maharaj. He's giving us the best what we should know. We don't need to read too many books. Actually, Srila Prabhupada warned the devotees not to read too many books, because they're confusing and usually comes to some kind of misunderstanding, particularly Mayavada. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu warns, we have to be very careful, because if we cannot defeat them, they can influence us. So if you cannot defeat them, avoid them. Avoid them. Because they're using the Vedic information, Vedic knowledge, to justify their impersonalist or Mayavada interpretation. It's all interpretation. Therefore, we have to take shelter an authentic parampara, a disciplic succession, who are representing the real knowledge, not just some fabricated knowledge or so-called experimental knowledge. We actually after real knowledge. Knowledge means to know things as they are. It is not something that I came to a conclusion and this and that. No. This is something that never changes. That's why Srila Prabhupada defeated the scientific approach. Science itself is not bad, but the way they do it is not good, because they're changing their theories and claim to know things. That means they don't know anything, because knowledge means to know things as they are. There's no such a thing changing back and forth and changing theories. And at least Albert Einstein admitted humbly that actually is beyond his perception. The laws of nature, laws of Prakriti, and the universe, the laws of physics, mathematics are proving that there is a superior intelligence here, and the supreme architect. He actually explained in his original theory, E equal mc squared, everything is energy, everything is a frequency. He could understand that these cannot be a random phenomenon, had to have an origin. This is when come to the intelligent design. And Srila Prabhupada mentioned in one morning walk conversation, I think in Melbourne in the mid-70s, that Albert Einstein was actually a good scientist. He actually was God conscious. He was trying to understand the brain of God. He was not defeating, was not trying to prove the non-existence, atheistic view of God, but rather trying to understand how it works. And he actually, humble enough, And he did his own research and often read passages of Bhagavad Gita, because he was sincere in one way. So Prabhupada often gave him credit that he was one of those rare scientists. And Prabhupada was not against the scientists themselves, but the method he was criticizing, because a lot of them actually promoting atheistic and denying the existence of God, and they're very corrupted in many ways. Therefore he was attacking them, attacking their misconceptions. And there was one devotee, Gauridas Pandit Prabhu, one of Prabhupada's personal servants in the last stages of Prabhupada's earthly pastimes in Vrindavan, 1977. And Srila Prabhupada was sitting in his courtyard, in the backyard, in his apartment at Krishna Balaram Mandir. And suddenly Srila Prabhupada looked up in the sky and says, I came for two reasons. I appeared in this world for two reasons. To establish Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Second, to defeat the rascal scientists. So basically he said, I came here to defeat the Mayavadis and establish the supremacy of the personality of Godhead, Krishna himself, the Supreme Brahman, the personality, and defeat the ignorance and atheistic views of modern scientists. He defeated them. And he actually did, through his transcendental purports, his lectures, classes, and personal coaching of devotees, answering so many letters. Prabhupada clearly defeated the Mayavada. And Bhaktisiddhanta was furious when he came to Mayavada doctrine or scholars. And he was so powerful, a transcendental lion. The Mayavadis were scared of him, so much so that when they see Bhaktisiddhanta coming on the street, they went on the other side of the road because they're so scared of him, because he just the very presence defeated them, not to speak of his intellectuality. Bhaktisiddhanta, honestly, I'm so proud that we have all these great devotees, even in our movement, so many intelligent, beautiful devotees, such a deep conviction in our Shastras. Just by hearing them, I feel like, wow, this is amazing, very inspirational. Not to speak of hearing the Mahabhagavata Acharyas in our line, Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and they were very, very powerful. They came here as a ray of Vishnu to establish the Dharma again in Kali Yuga. Caitanya Mahaprabhu setting the path. Here we are, and now we have the means and even the infrastructure by grace of Srila Prabhupada, so we can peacefully, humbly develop our Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada sweated gallons of blood so we can have this. We should not be complacent. We should be grateful. We should feel gratitude. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Vaishnavas, that we are here. We should be always grateful, not to be complacent. Complacency is the most dangerous to our spiritual practices. Very dangerous. We should give up this complacency. We should be serious, at least within our hearts. We should be sincere and patient, because pure devotion service has a price. We have to earn it by humble practice and be patient. Service, cultivate knowledge, and this is when we come to the right conclusion that Krishna is what we really need, nothing else. Any questions? Any comments? Hare Krishna. Shri Caitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.